Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 29th of March and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, we were uh, okay. So we have to take the analysis in the 6:30 a.m. in the morning, but I had fever yesterday, so was not feeling well. So let's start now, and from tomorrow, as I said, that the newspaper analysis will be coming right in the 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Now, okay. First of all, guys, can you see the screen? Okay, can you see the screen? Okay, just give me 1 minute. I think there is some problem that came. Okay, yes. Okay, guys, so now I think the screen is visible. Okay, so let's start the newspaper analysis. First of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper. Now, guys, here this is the page number 1 of the Hindu, and here we can see that the first article, it is talking about the protest into the Lok Sabha as bill envisages lifting biometrics of the detainees. Now, this particular article, we will be discussing about the criminal procedure bill that has been introduced. After that, moving on, then guys, further in this particular direction, we can see here that just a kind of a reference is there, the breakdown in the neutrality in the Odisha bureaucracy. Now the breakdown into the bureaucracy with respect to the neutrality. Now guys, there have been the allegations that the bureaucracy is favoring the ruling party into the Odisha. So guys, just one liner concept here is that a particular value comes into the play here. Which value? Value of non-partisanship. Now when we talk about our GS paper number 4 ethics, in the ethics there is foundational values that the civil servants have to follow, and particularly the foundational value of non-partisanship. It means that the civil servants will not be having any kind of inclination towards any political party. Non-partisanship happens to be a very important value, but here what is being said, it is being said that the non-partisanship is not being followed by the bureaucracy. Will not say that whether it is correct or just an allegation, fine, but just this particular value is important one. I hope you understood. Now moving on, after that guys, in the city section, the regional issues etc have been there, advertisements, fine, all the such kind of things, fine. So much of the substance is not there here. Okay, guys, one more thing, that see, some issues are there on which day to day developments are coming. For example, this silver line project is there, which is in the Kerala. It involves a semi high speed railway network. Now Supreme Court refuses to stay land survey. Now this development, every day the development is not important. After that, moving on, in this particular direction, we'll reach to the editorial page. The rise of AAP and a central question, not important. Sub-regional grouping, it is talking about the BIMSTEC. We'll see this article. Then guys, this particular article, it is talking about the Imran Khan's survival as a prime minister, the internal politics of Pakistan, nothing important. Then guys, this particular article, okay, it is talking about okay, basically it is talking about the nominations, okay, the movie nominations for the Oscar, not important with respect to the examination. Then further moving on, joint comprehensive plan of action, we'll discuss it. A contributor not consumer, talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, we'll see this particular article. Then in the text and context, there are some good articles today. The phenomena of coral bleaching, we'll see what is provided in this article. Detecting microplastics in human blood, we'll see this article also. The Startup India initiative, we'll see this article. Okay, after that guys, Gotabaya's thanks in India for assistance. So recently India had provided the assistance to the Sri Lanka worth $2.4 billion. Okay, so for that thing, however, with respect to exam, much substance is not there into the article. Then guys, moving on, after that, parties demand prime minister's take on fuel prices. So now the fuel prices have started to increased, okay, after the election season has been over. So for that particular thing, the ruckus is going in the parliament. Okay, then now, however, with respect to exam, you don't need to go into these articles. Lok Sabha note to include two tribes into the Tripura's ST list, scheduled tribes list. On the scheduled tribe, yesterday we have seen one important article where the Supreme Court had said that now we need to come out with a new benchmark test as how the scheduled tribes are to be defined. So this is something. Now guys, moving on. Okay, after that guys, Supreme Court to studies COVID orphan plight. Okay, then the Supreme Court query on minority status petition. Okay. Now, guys, in this particular direction, basically, with respect to the minorities, also, yesterday we have taken up one particular article where we have seen that when the minorities are concerned, both the center as well as the state has the power that they can define the minority. Yesterday's article is very important. If you have missed it, please do see it. Then, guys, further after the world page, much of the evolving issues have been just discussed. India has no plans to purchase Russian oil in rupees. So in the past few days we have seen the articles that what has been said, that basically there was a proposal that now as the Russia is offering the deep discounts onto the oil, we should purchase it on the terms of rupee ruble agreement was being discussed. But it has been cleared here by the here it has been cleared by the minister of petroleum that we have right now no plan, no agreements have been there, no MOUs have been there to procure the oil from Russia. Okay, so then we have the sports page. Now all these were the important articles that are there in the today's newspaper, and now let's discuss the articles one by one in the detail. Now, starting up with the first article. Okay, starting up with the GS quote. So today we'll take the quote from Abhijit Banerjee. Now the Abhijit Banerjee has been the Nobel Prize winner. He says, if the rule makes such a difference, then it becomes very important who gets to make them. We always say that the society is governed by rules, society is governed by regulations. Now these rules and regulations needed to be objective, they need to be fair, and they need to be one which promotes the maximum justice, maximum welfare. So therefore the intention of the lawmakers, intention of the rule makers is very important. So who makes rule becomes a very important thing. Now who makes rules, it pertains to who our legislators are. Fine, so it becomes a very important thing. Now guys, moving on to the first of all the first article. So the first article, this one we have taken from the first page of the Hindu newspaper. It talks about the protest into the Lok Sabha as a bill has been introduced. So what this particular bill is, what are the provisions, and what will be the implications, this is all that we are going to see in this particular article. So guys, what had happened? The criminal procedure bill has been introduced into the parliament. Criminal procedure bill has been introduced into the parliament. Now what is this criminal procedure bill? See guys, there are large number of people who have a track record that they do crimes. Okay, they have a track record that they do crimes one after the another. There are some serial criminals that are there. Now guys, what has been the case? There has been a practice that the people who have committed some crimes, their criminal background, their criminal history, and their specimens such as their fingerprints and such kind of things are recorded into the criminal record. In this particular direction, we had a particular act, very old act, that is the Prisoners Act of 1920. Now the Prisoners Act of 1920 provides that the finger impressions as well as the footprints of the convicts who are in the jail, they can be recorded, but only fingerprints and footprints. Now guys, what had happened? The technology has become very much advanced, and now there is the technology that we can record the DNA, we can record other kind of specimens. For example, there are many other bodily samples that can be taken. Now it has been provided in this particular bill that the prison authorities will be given a power that all the convicts that are into the jail, their records will be stored, and these records can be stored up till 75 years. Is it clear? And basically then people who have been charged under large number of violations, their bodily specimen can be taken. First of all, let's see the brief provisions of this particular bill, and then we'll see that what are the problems that are coming. So the name of the bill, it is the Criminal Procedure Bill of 2020. What it does, it allows the police and the prison authorities to store and analyze physical and biological samples. Fine, it can now the retina, okay, the iris scan of the convicts can be taken and it can be stored. The records which will be taken, such as the blood sample, retina scan, iris scan, fingerprints, the DNA samples, okay, or many other such kind of samples, they can be stored for the period of 75 years. who will store this particular data? This particular data will be stored with the National Crime Record Bureau. It will be the physical, it will be the repository for physical and biological samples. So NCRB will be the repository. Now guys, in this particular thing, the things that can be taken up, it is the iris, signature, handwriting, biological samples, such as your hair can be taken, your blood sample can be taken, your spit can be taken, and it can be stored. Okay, then after that, now this particular bill provides that the persons which are detained under any preventive law, their basically specimens or their records can also be taken up. Now guys, preventive detention law, basically suppose there is let's say a person. Now this particular person has not done any crime, but the enforcement agencies or the police feels that this person might do a crime in the future. So just in the preventive detention, that particular person can be taken into the custody. Now guys, many a times this thing has happened that the political leaders, they have been taken into the preventive detention. For example guys, let's say that there are the opposition members, they are planning to go on a strike. Now what can happen, these opposition members or these leaders can be taken for a preventive detention. Now it has been said that as under this particular bill, even the people detained in preventive detention, their samples can be taken. So even the political people, fine, the political leaders, their profiling will be done, and it will be misused by the government in some future time. This is something that has been provided. Moreover guys, it has been said that if a person with no criminal background is released, the person who did not had any track record earlier, if he is released or if he is acquitted by the court, then his bodily measurements, his samples will be destroyed. So this is something that has been provided into this particular bill. Now guys, it has been said that this bill will impact the right to privacy, which has been declared as a fundamental right in the Puttaswamy judgment. So the Puttaswamy judgment, the what had happened, the right to privacy has been declared as a fundamental right, so it will be violated here. However guys, right to privacy is not an absolute right. It can be violated at certain circumstances. Particularly when we talk about the right to privacy, there is the proportionality test for that. Under the proportionality test, it has been said that right to privacy can be violated. There are certain grounds. For example, number one, right to privacy is not absolute, it can be violated, and thus thing or not violated, we can see that in some circumstances it can be compromised, but the compromise can only happen when there is a law for that particular thing. Now as the law is being brought, so right to privacy can be taken up for some certain circumstances. Second thing, it should meet some clear purpose. Now by having such kind of record, what it can help in further investigation. It can help in let's say there is some criminal who had a track record. Next time, let's say there is an offense that has been done, from there we can collect some kind of specimens, we can collect some fingerprints, we can run it through the database, and in that the investigation can be helped. Okay, so clear purpose will be achieved. Third, we need to test it onto the cost to benefit ratio. Okay, the cost to benefit, what the cost is coming and what the benefit is coming. So government can justify that by having such kind of samples, we will get help in investigation, we will get help in further keeping the track record of the criminals. So a lot of benefit will be coming. So cost to benefit is needed to be analyzed. If these conditions are being fulfilled, then on to the basis of proportionality test, a right can be taken up, and even the right to privacy can be taken up. Okay, so the government, even if what wants, it can justify, but the opposition is not liking the provisions of this particular bill. I told you particularly the provision that the people who have been arrested on the charges of preventive detention, their samples, okay, their retina scans, iris scans can also be taken up. For this reason, there has been the opposition. So this is all about this particular bill guys, and over the days many such articles, editorials will be coming on this line. We'll see it. Now moving to the next article, the phenomena of coral bleaching. So this article has been taken from the text and the context section of the Hindu newspaper, and this article will be important in GS paper number 3, environment ecology. Now first of all, why this coral bleaching has come into the news. Now guys, understand what has been the development. The development is this, that recently the management authority of the world's largest coral reef, that is the Great Barrier Reef. Now the Great Barrier Reef is the largest living structure on the earth. It is more than 2300 kilometer long coral reef that is there. So the management authority of the Great Barrier Reef Australia, it has confirmed that now the Great Barrier Reef of Australia, it is seeing a mass coral bleaching event. So what is this mass coral bleaching event? And it has been said that this is a sixth time that such kind of an event is happening. So we'll understand what this coral bleaching is all about. Okay, now guys, before understanding the coral bleaching, we'll understand some of even more very basic kind of things, that what do we mean by the corals. First of all, what are the corals? So guys, here you can see the picture of a coral. So coral is simply a marine animal. It is a marine animal. Here we can see that the corals are the marine invertebrates. What are the invertebrates? The animals which don't have a spine. So coral, they are living marine invertebrates, animals not having a spine. Now each of this particular coral, it is called as a polyp. Each of the coral, it is called as the polyp. And when the thousands of such corals come together, they form a colony. Okay, they form a colony, and this particular colony makes a coral reef. It makes a coral reef. It makes a kind of a structure. Now guys, basically these polyps, they basically live together. They die over the period of time, and when they die, over their skeleton another layer of polyps, it is formed. They die, then another layer of polyps, it is formed on that. Over the period of time, millions and millions of polyps, the ones who have already died, the ones who are living, they form a kind of a structure. When we talk about the corals, there are two types of corals. There are the hard corals that are there, and then the soft corals that are there. Now guys, the hard corals, they are also called as the hermatypic corals, or they are also called as the reef building corals. So the hard corals, they are the reef building, called as the hermatypic. Now guys, from where the hardness into these corals comes? They become hard because of the calcium carbonate, and the calcium carbonate they extract from the sea water. So from sea water they extract calcium carbonate, and they get that hardness into their structure. Then there are the soft coral polyps also that are there. Now these soft coral polyps, they look more like plants. And these soft corals, okay, they place themselves over the hard corals, and they live together. Now guys, when we talk about the corals, you might have seen that these corals are having different kind of colors. For example, here you see the shades of pink, yellow, etc. Okay, now from where the color of these corals come? So guys, the color of these corals, it come from the single celled algae called as zooxanthellae. Now guys, zooxanthellae, it is an algae, and this algae has a symbiotic relationship with the corals. Symbiotic relation, it is a positive relation where the two parties, they interact with each other and both get some mutual benefit out of it. For example, let's say you are living in a room with your friend. Both of you are preparing for UPSC. You teach him history, he teach you polity, for example. This is a kind of a relationship between you where both are getting the positive benefit. This is a symbiotic relationship. So the corals, they have a symbiotic relationship with this algae called as zooxanthellae. How it is a symbiotic relationship? First of all, see, basically this algae, it provides these corals the food as well as nutrients. Because it is an algae, it provides the food and nutrients. Now how these zooxanthellae are providing the nutrient? Because guys, by the use of photosynthesis, this particular algae gets generate, which further on which these corals feed. Secondly guys, what happens? These zooxanthellae provides the distinct color also to the corals. So this green, this pink color, red color, yellow color, it is from the zooxanthellae. Secondly, what is the benefit to the zooxanthellae? So basically the corals, it provides the structure on which this zooxanthellae can rest, on which this zooxanthellae can grow. So basically these corals, they provide the support, they provide the structure. Now guys, what is this coral bleaching that now we are discussing? So basically coral bleaching, it means the fading of the corals. I told you the corals, they are of vibrant color, green, yellow, pink. When their color will be faded and they will become white, this thing is called as coral bleaching. Now, how this coral bleaching happens? So basically guys, the coral bleaching happens when there is the stress in the environment. Now, what is the environment? Nearby water. Nearby water's temperature is the environment of the corals. So what happens often, first either there could be the change into the water temperature, that water becomes more hot, more warm. There could be the pollution in the water, or sometimes the acidity into the ocean increases. Now when these stresses are there into the water, what happened? The zooxanthellae, the algae which was providing the color to the corals, these zooxanthellae, they start producing the reactive oxygen species into them. Now these reactive oxygen species within the zooxanthellae that are being produced, they are not beneficial to the corals, and as they are not beneficial to the corals, what happens? The corals, they expel these zooxanthellae from them. They expel these zooxanthellae, and when these zooxanthellae go, obviously they take back their color, and the corals, they are exposed. At the end of the day, the white color, the skeleton, the white skeleton of the corals, it is exposed, and we call this particular event as coral bleaching. Fine, that is going away of the zooxanthellae from the coral polyps. Now guys, if this particular condition is a temporary, let's say the water temperature increased for a temporary period, the zooxanthellae can come back. If within, let's say, 10 days, 15 days, the conditions become normal, the zooxanthellae come back, and the corals, they can regain back their colors, they can become again live. But if this condition of stress, it continues for a long period of time, the zooxanthellae, they will permanently be divorcing the corals, and the corals will become bleached, and over the period of time, if they will not get the nutrient, they will become dead. Is it clear? So if we call it as, we also call it as the death of the corals. Fine, this particular event can also happen. Now guys, when we talk about the corals, the coral bleaching, the first mass coral bleaching happened in 1998 when the El Nino weather pattern happened into the Pacific. Now guys, into the El Nino around the Pacific, the temperature of the water increased, and because of that, what happened? The zooxanthellae, it got away from the corals, and at that point of time, the 8% of the world's coral, they died. Now basically in 2021, a study by the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network, okay, which this particular study has also been supported by the UN, it shows that 14% of the world coral reefs, they have been lost between 2009 to 2018. 14% of corals, they have been lost. Why they got lost? Because of the coral bleaching. Okay, the zooxanthellae, they were removed, they were expelled, and then ultimately the corals got died. Now the coral reefs, it are very much important. Number one, 25% of marine biodiversity, fish, turtles, lobsters, okay, they are supported by the corals. They are supported by the corals. Okay, secondly, the corals, they are also a tourist attraction, and because of it, the economic potential of the corals is also very much high. Secondly, corals themselves, they are providing, basically the corals, they are extracted, and they have many purpose. Many of the economic utilities of the corals itself are there, and in this particular capacity, 2.7 trillion dollar annual economic value is provided by these corals. The tourism of Australia is supported by the Great Barrier Coral Reef of the Australia. So their bleaching and their dying is a cause of concern. We need to be very serious on this particular thing, and the countries need to come together, and they need to take a consolidated action, that how the acidity that is increasing into the ocean needs to be reduced, how the sea level temperature that is rising, it needs to be controlled. So this is all about this particular article, and now guys, we'll move to the next article. Now, detecting microplastics in the human blood. Okay, so guys, what has happened recently? A study has been conducted. Fine, a study has been conducted, okay, at the Netherlands, and as per this particular study, what happened? There were certain humans whose blood was tested. There were certain anonymous volunteers whose blood was tested, and 77% of the people whose blood got tested, they had found the microplastics in their blood. Now what is the microplastic? First of all, so guys, there could be the two types of plastics. One is microplastic and other is the macroplastic. For example, macroplastics, these the durable plastic items that you are seeing. For example, I have this particular pen or pencil, it is made up of plastic. It is a macroplastic. Then comes the micro are very tiny small plastics. Okay, for example, you have the face wash. In face wash there are the tiny beads that are there. Sometimes these tiny beads are made up of plastics. Clear? When a plastic gets broken down, fine, there are many tiny fragments that will be created. Those will be called as the microplastics. So microplastics are the tiny fragments of plastics. Sometimes they could be visible to the naked eye, and in most of the times they might also not be visible to the naked eye. See, there is no distinction onto the basis of size as of now. We can see this particular thing. There is no universal agreement on the basis of size. Fine, different estimates are there. Now guys, these microplastics, see what actually is happening right now. Microplastics have reached every place on the earth. Clear? A lot of plastic waste is being dumped into the ocean. As the plastic waste is being dumped into the ocean, lot of these plastics, they are getting fragmented, and very tiny particles of the plastic, they have reached the fish, they have reached the marine animals. We are consuming the marine animals. We are eating a lot of plastic into the food. Fine, it has entered the food chain, and now it has entered into the blood. Now guys, in this particular study, fine, it has not been found that how it will impact the humans. Can it pass from blood to the organs? Can it get deposited into the organs, and after its deposition can it give some disease to the humans? It has not been found. It is just a study where the microplastics have been detected. Now guys, in this particular entire article, it has been said that okay, how many people came for the study, how many of them got the microplastics in their blood, and all such kind of tiny details, which is not at all important for our exams. Just one line concept, that what is microplastics? Tiny fragments of plastics. They have entered the food chain. Now they have entered the human blood. Fine. So this is the disastrous implication of using the plastic into the modern civilization. Clear? So we can use that how if you're writing an answer onto the harms of the plastics, how it is impacting even the human health. So this is about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, this particular article is taken from the text and the context section again of the Hindu newspaper. It is talking about the Startup India initiative. Clear? Now guys, first of all, what is the context that this particular article has come into the news? Nothing. A research paper has been published into the EPW, that is the Economic and Political Weekly, which is a magazine. Into that Economic Political Weekly, the startup scenario of India, how Startup India mission is impacting the startups in India, all such kind of research has been published. So from there, this particular article has been taken, EPW, Economic Political Weekly. Now, basically guys, when we talk about the startups, fine, you need to know first of all certain things. See, we have the third largest ecosystem of startups into the world. Third largest ecosystem of startups into the world. Now guys, for supporting the startups, we are also having the Startup India mission. We are having the Startup India mission, which got started in 2016. Under this Startup India mission, there were large number of supports that were to be provided to the startups in India. Now, the hand-holding support was provided, the funding was provided, the incubation support was provided to the startups. Fine, certain I will tell you here, other you can just please download the PDF from the Telegram channel and you read all of them. Okay, remembering all of them is not very important. Any 4-5 features of the Startup India that you can remember, well and good. Now, what are the supports provided into the Startup India? Number one, the legal support. See, whenever a business has to start, a large number of permissions, a large number of certifications are to be taken. There are the environmental, labor certifications that are to be taken. Now the startups, they can avail the self certification. Okay, after that the IPR. Okay, if a startup has made a kind of a product, okay, and it want to get a patent for it, so for the IPR, the fast track processing of their patents is provided. Then the startup, if any startup is let's say that the startup was there and the startup is now is not into the profit and it wants to exit, then the exit process of startup is very fast. Within the 90 days a startup can exit. Okay, then the fund of the fund, the SIDB. Okay, Small Industries Development Bank of India, SIDB. Under the SIDB, a fund of fund has been created. Under this fund of fund, 2500 crore rupees have been placed, which will be given to the startups. Then the credit guarantee is also provided for the startups. Okay, if the startup has borrowed some money on them, if they have borrowed some money from the financial institution, the credit guarantee is provided. Then the tax exemptions for the 3 years. Okay, if the startups are earning any kind of a profit, they can avail the tax exemption. Is it clear? So this is something that has happened. Okay, after that, innovation centers, incubation centers are there. Okay, the startups, they are also provided the support, the basically they are also provided a know-how that how they can raise the money from the market. Is it clear? There is a Startup India platform also. On this Startup India platform, the startups can register themselves there. The fund, the venture capitalist, the other kind of actors, the angel investors, they can interact with the startups and they can provide money to them. So to support the startup sector, we have come out with the Startup India scheme in 2016. Now guys, I told you we have the third largest startup ecosystem into the world. In this particular direction, when we talk about the number of startups into the India, when we talk about the number of startups into the India, then according to the Minister of Commerce and Industry, fine, the startup portal, it has more than 65,000 startups registered on it. 40 startups have attained the unicorn status into the last 12 months. What is the unicorn status? Any startup whose valuation exceeds more than $1 billion, that startup is called as a unicorn startup. If your valuation increase more than 1 billion, now the 40 startups, their valuation has increased 1 billion in last 12 months, and we are having as of date 90 unicorn startups. Is it clear? Now certain findings. So basically guys, it has been said that finally, okay, we have the third largest startup ecosystem. Okay, but guys, the startups, majority of them are just concentrated into the three mega cities, that is the Mumbai, Bangalore and Delhi NCR. 93% of are located just into these three cities. This particular thing has even confirmed by a RBI report. Okay, secondly, it has been confirmed by a RBI report, as well as many other independent reports also had provided this particular thing. So what has happened? Basically, regional disparities, regional inequalities will increase if such kind of thing will happen. We need to have the startups scattered throughout the country, not only in few cities. But now 93% of startups are there only in few cities. Now guys, it has been provided that basically as the startup industries have emerged, they had provided a lot of employment opportunities. Okay, they are making the lives of the people easier. For example, now you have many startups. For example, a startup Blinkit, fine, you can get the groceries delivered within 10 minutes. Obviously your life is getting comfortable. The delivery guys, they are also getting an employment. So startups had provided a lot of benefit. Now guys, it has been provided that basically when the Startup India scheme came, it provided that we will provide the opportunities to everybody. They said that the startup ecosystem of India will be inclusive startup ecosystem. Now the research that has been submitted, it provides that actually the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities, they have not been specifically catered into the startup. According to it, Startup India action plan that is there, nowhere it mentions that specifically the attention will be given to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBCs. Now it has been provided that when we see the demographic profile of India, large number of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes still live into the rural areas. But the startups, they have not, the startups neither they are oriented onto the rural areas, nor from the rural areas many of the startups are coming. Neither they are providing the service, nor from there the startups are coming. So the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, they have not been catered into the startup scenario in the India. Moreover, the women's have also not been too much included. According to the data, 62,000 startups have been registered with the DPIIT. 46% of them had one women director. According to the RBI's pilot survey, 5.9% of just participating startups, they had a female founder. But the male founder, in 55% of the startups, they have the male founder. Just in 5.9% there is a female founder. Moreover guys, it has been provided that in 40% of the startups, both male and female are the co-founders. However, government has done a lot of had taken a lot of efforts to support the women, to support the women entrepreneurs in this particular direction. I told you that guys, within the SIDB there is a fund 2500 crore rupees have been placed within the SIDB so that it can support the startup. It has been provided that 10% of this particular 2500 crore rupees fund, it will be reserved for the women led startups. Moreover, it has been provided that basically SIDB, sometimes what it does, SIDB, okay, Small Industries Development Bank of India, it provides money to a startup and it takes a share in that particular startup, it takes a equity into that particular startup. So basically the SIDB, in whatever startups it will take equity, it has provided that 20% of such business will be the ones which are led by the women led, women influenced and women employed, or women consumption centric startups. They will be specifically more supported by the SIDB. So all this has been done to support the women entrepreneurs also. Guys, please download this PDF and extract the content from here. Just you can use it in your GS paper number 3 answers. So that is all about it, and now we'll move to the next article. A sub-regional grouping that must get back on the course. So the guys, this particular article will see under the light of GS paper number 2, international affairs. Okay, now this article is talking about the BIMSTEC. Okay, so guys, what has been the matter, the context is this, that the BIMSTEC, the leaders of BIMSTEC, they are just in they will attend a virtual meet which will be hosted by the Sri Lanka. Now, first of all, what is the BIMSTEC? So guys, the BIMSTEC, it stands for Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. Clear? In the BIMSTEC there are the 7 countries. Fine. In the BIMSTEC there are the 7 countries. Okay, now the countries which are the littoral states or the countries around the Bay of Bengal, it has the Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Thailand and Myanmar. BIMSTEC, it was founded in 1997. What is the objective of the BIMSTEC? BIMSTEC has the 14 pillars or the 14 areas of focus. In 14 areas, the countries will cooperate with each other. The trade and investment, transport, communication, energy, tourism, technology, fishery, agriculture, public health, poverty alleviation, counter-terrorism, transnational crime, all these things will be focused. Fine. Many of the disturbing things, for example, the transnational crime, fine, the basically the impact onto the marine ecology, it will be reversed, and the trade will be increased. Okay, the cooperation will be increased. Now guys, the article provides that the region of Bay of Bengal specifically has a lot of problem. For example, first of all, the Bay of Bengal, it is a rich region. It has large network of estuaries. It has a lot of mangrove forest, coral reefs are there, green meadows are there. Okay, nesting sites of the sea turtles are there into the Bay of Bengal, a very important ecological site. But at the same time, a large number of challenges are there in the Bay of Bengal. Fine, we see that the mangroves are getting lost at the rate of 0.4%, and the coral reefs are getting lost at the rate of 0.7%. Every year we are seeing there is a kind of a decline in the coral reefs as well as mangroves. Moreover, the sea level into the Bay of Bengal will increase by 0.5 meter into the next 50 years. There are the 13 cyclonic storms that have come. 13 cyclonic storms, okay, I will just erase it. 13 cyclonic storms that have come into the last 5 years. Find more than 185 million people are living or dependent onto the Bay of Bengal for their livelihood, for their survival. And cyclonic events are increasing, coral reefs are getting lost, mangroves are getting lost. Mangroves are the first line of defense for a coast, for the community living around the seashore. They are getting lost, all people are exposed. According to the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, it has been said that the Bay of Bengal is seeing illegal and unreported and unregulated fishing practices also. Fine, unregulated fishing practices, okay, they are damaging the fish stock of the region. Moreover, there is emergence of dead zone. What is a dead zone? Dead zone, guys, is a region in a water, in a sea, where there is zero oxygen, and because the oxygen is not there, the fishes cannot survive. Moreover, the plastic waste from the rivers, okay, it is getting leached into the Indian Ocean. It is creating the problem of microplastics. It is impacting the marine ecology. Is it it clear? Many of the species of the fishes, etc., are they are dying. Then the threats of terrorism, piracy, tensions between the countries onto the marine boundary, etc., is also there into this entire region. Now the upcoming summit that is coming, fine, the upcoming summit, it is an opportunity that the leaders can go beyond the general things such as the trade, cooperation. They should go in other areas also. For example, how the sustainable management of Bay of Bengal can be there. So guys, a Bay of Bengal maritime dialogue, it was recently organized by the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue and the Pathfinder Foundation. It focused that how the government officials need to focus on some specific emerging themes. Now, the need of the hour is that first of all, the blue economy potential of the Bay of Bengal is huge and it is needed to be conserved. Blue economy potential means that, see, there are fishes, there are the marine resources that can be utilized. The countries should come together that how the blue economy will be built onto the Bay of Bengal in a sustainable manner. Then the regional mechanism on solving the maritime issues, for example the trans-boundary disputes that are there, is needed to be find out. Fine, it needs to be find out that how onto the basis of scientific research the climate change events that will come on Bay of Bengal, how they can be reversed back, or how the climate impact can be mitigated, can be minimized. Fine, the Bay of Bengal leaders need to learn from the best practices around the world that how marine species can be protected. After that guys, the next thing that has been provided is that the Bay of Bengal program, okay, which is a program based out in Chennai, it is doing a good work that how participatory approach can be adopted into the region. Participatory approach means that, see, in the different countries, fine, for example, I told you that there are the 7 members into the BIMSTEC. Sri Lanka is there, India is there, Myanmar is there. How the communities living around the seashore, the communities which are dependent onto the Bay of Bengal, how all of them can be brought together and in a participatory manner, how the development of the region can be carried. All these things are needed to be the agenda into the BIMSTEC and it is needed to be emphasized. So this is all which has been provided in this particular article. I hope guys you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, this article taken from the Hindu, JCPOA continues to be elusive. JCPOA, it stands for the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Now guys, understand this particular thing. Basically, first of all, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, international affairs or international issues. Now, very frankly, I would like to tell you certain things. Guys, see, first of all, let's understand that what the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action is. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, it is also called as the Iran nuclear deal. So, guys, understand that, fine, it was observed around before 2015 that Iran was going for the uranium enrichment. Now the uranium enrichment is a process by which you can convert the uranium into the war grade material. Is it clear? Uranium enrichment is a process which is taken by the nuclear powers, okay, but in Iran the nuclear enrichment was a cause of concern. Why? Because it was suspected that by enriching the uranium, the Iran can make a nuclear bomb which can be used against the world. So the world countries were very much threatened by the uranium enrichment program of the Iran. They wanted Iran should stop it, and for that particular thing the Iran nuclear deal was signed in 2015. This deal was between the P5+1 and Iran. Okay, now who is this into the P5+1? China, France, Russia, UK, US and Germany. Okay, European Union also played a role here. So they asked the Iran that you stop this uranium enrichment. Now guys, see, as this uranium enrichment was going on before 2015, large number of economic sanctions were imposed onto the Iran. It was said that if you will stop this uranium enrichment, we will remove these economic sanctions. Iran got agreed, and slowly the sanctions were removed and Iran was also stopping its uranium enrichment. It also opened its facility for the international inspection. Okay, IAEA, they can come and they can see that we are not doing it. But when Donald Trump came into the USA, Donald Trump said that this joint comprehensive plan of action, it is a kind of he said that it is a sham and we are exiting from the joint comprehensive plan of action. USA was a member, it withdrew from it. This entire deal it got collapsed. Now again this joint comprehensive plan of action is being revived and the talks are going on. Now guys, what is the present contention? present contention is this, that in this joint comprehensive plan of action, Russia and USA both are the party, but now the Russia and USA relations are not good. Why the relations are not good? Because of the Ukraine matter. Now the Russia will say that, Russia is saying that we will cooperate into this joint comprehensive plan of action only if USA will promise that we will not impose any other additional sanctions on it. Russian ambassadors have said that USA should guarantee that the sanction imposed on Russia due to Ukraine conflict would not affect its role under the JCPOA. Fine, so they want a kind of a guarantee. USA says that no such kind of guarantee can be given. So it has been, in this particular entire article, it has been said that the countries needed to focus that the joint comprehensive plan of action should not again collapse. You need to finalize it, and the differences that are there between the member countries, that is the USA and Russia, they are needed to be solved, they are needed to be plugged. It has been said that Iran nuclear deal today is more important for the Western country. Clear. Today Iran is not too much dependent onto the Iran nuclear deal. What has happened? Iran is seeing the GDP growth of 2% in 2022. Then there will be the 3% of growth that will come onto the then there was a 3% growth which came over the last 2 years. So Iran has economically recovered. Okay, moreover, it has said that now Iran has many other partners such as the Russia, China. Clear. The USA's credibility has already declined because earlier it withdrew from the JCPOA. Now it has not done much into the Ukraine matter. So USA should let go his ego and should come onto the table. Apart from this, guys, many of the evolving issues into this particular article, that okay, what exactly the hairline things going on are discussed, but these things are not very much important because by the time your exam will come, or most of these particular debate things will either get changed or they will get resolved or some new things will come. So this is an evolving matter. Every development is not very much important because it is a negotiation that is going on. Now what today USA said, what tomorrow Russia will say, and how in after 1 month the things will look, it will get changed. So please don't go too much into the detail. Fine. However, I had provided this entire thing into this particular summary. You can download it. Now moving to the next article, a contributor not a consumer. Now guys, this particular article, it is talking about the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Now guys, in this particular article, first of all, much of academic substance is not there. Just a one-liner concept has been repeated, and the concept is this, that the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, it is not a decoupling from the world. Rather, Atmanirbharta, it is not an isolation that India is adopting. It refers to a self-reliant India. Now, first of all, let's discuss about the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So guys, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan was started in 2020. Now, this time was when we found that the COVID-19 pandemic came and India found that India is too much dependent onto the world economy. So under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, we took the 5 pillars that we will become self-reliant. Economy, we will become self-reliant in our economic growth. Fine, we have to grow our economy by leaps, not by steps. Infrastructural Atmanirbharta, self-reliance will be there. We will build the systems based onto the technology so that we are not dependent on another country for the technology. We will leverage our demography, the young population. Fine, youth-centric development will be there. We will increase demand, okay, so that our supply chains can be strengthened, so that our industries get a good, robust supply. So we wanted to build the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now guys, basically into the article, it has simply been provided that today you see Russia Ukraine crisis is going on, and because a large number of dependence on to the Russia is there, large number of dependent on Ukraine is there, many countries are facing an economic problem. So it has been said that see, today we cannot stay in isolation. Neither India can stay in isolation nor other countries can stay in isolation. We are dependent on each other, but at the same time dependence should not be that much that we face the crisis if any kind of a global dispute, global matter comes. So it has been said that when we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, it is a very good strategy that has been used by India as a way forward. It has been used by India as a way forward. Into the Atmanirbharta, what we are doing, we are not becoming protectionist, we are not becoming isolationist, rather we are trying to become self-reliant. It is similar to Gandhiji's call of Swadeshi, but in 2022. Now it has been provided that guys, basically today when we talk about the interrelation between the countries, see Francis Fukuyama, he said that the national identity is pivotal to the fortune of the modern states. Fine. National identity makes a liberal democracy possible. Okay. Now, the national identity will be fulfilled only when the nation in itself will be reliant, and that thing will be helped by the Atmanirbharta. Clear? And under the Atmanirbharta, many of the things, fine, the defense, human right, climate change, agriculture, all these things will be taken up. Now, guys, see, in this article, much of a factual, much of a content is not there. The writing style is good. What I'll suggest that you go and please read this particular article for the writing style that is there. However, much academic content is not there. Fine. So this is this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. So guys, that is all about the today's newspaper analysis. I hope you have understood all these particular articles. So that is all for today. Thank you so much. And guys, if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button. Please do subscribe. Thank you so much.